Hello and welcome to another video. So first deck for this new expansion, Omen Havencraft. This is the quickest deck I honestly could get out pretty easily. I messed around with the Ramp Dragon initially, but wasn't having too much success because I ran into multiple sword players and that just wasn't really going my way. So I swapped over to Omen Havencraft, which is a much more wardy control deck with decent healing mechanics and honestly just pretty decent burst damage. You really take advantage of Despair Manifest to deal as much damage as possible, while protecting yourself with your many other crests and many other abilities. Getting something like Grimnir on board early is super beneficial, but things like Repose here and the other Repose do a pretty decent job of holding out until you can get to the third Repose, because they're all fucking Repose cards, you know? Honestly, all do a really good job, and then the big kind of, it's a bit slow removal, but it is removal. It does lock down your opponent's board and do stuff, but if you aren't removing the board entirely, you can't hit face with Despair, so it's a little bit of a problem in that regard. But otherwise, you really are just clearing boards as effectively as possible every turn and getting as much chip damage in as you can. You can even finish off games with Veracity Manifest, which I think this is going to become a pretty staple card in a lot of slower decks. At least from my experience so far playing both this Portal and Dragon, this card is just insanely good once you get to 10 play points each, as it is just a 5 damage burst, which is just really nice for closing out games. So we are going to get right into it and take a look. So kicking us off, our first game is against Forestcraft. I did play one game before this with this Haven deck and I lost it, but then I won the following 3, so honestly not a bad showing overall. And started to see a little more variety as we got a little bit deeper into the hour. That first hour was a little brutal, but now I'm starting to see more creative classes. So this is where I was still trying to get a bearing on how I should run this, so I was kind of just messing around with the deck in this matchup. I had a rough idea on what I wanted to do, but it wasn't really until game 2 and 3 that you're going to see where I actually came up with a pretty solid game plan on what to strategize for. Because your early mulligan, you really want to target that 4-drop legendary, because if you can get that really early, you're going to be at a huge advantage, since you can just start pinging away boards really early. Fortunately, you can stand to take a little bit of damage. You have an okay amount of healing. Fortunately for us, we did end up talking Manifest here. It's just really important to get. You can like slowly ping the deck away as you go, but if you don't get Manifest early, you really struggle to get that damage to face that you need. And of course, remembering to evolve Manifest is also very important, so you can't play him too early if you don't have Evo points, because you need that Evo to get the crest. Grimnir is just such a clutch card too, because it turns Manifest guaranteed into like 2 pings minimum. And then you really just have 3 more crest slots to fill with random countdown crests that you can kind of take pretty decent advantage of through both healing mechanics and removal mechanics and draw mechanics. Like, you see, I do a pretty okay job here of holding out. I'm basically just trying to stay out of range of any kind of like roach play. That's really what I want to do here. And Temple of Repose is actually a really good card for that, because Temple of Repose will give you barrier, which effectively protects you pretty well. They did decide to do the Lily combo here to take out my board. Now, Blind Faith wasn't a terrible play, but I really wish I could have full wiped here better without having to rely on the crests. But I did at least set up Temple, so that Temple would be on its earliest countdown. And this Evo is actually pretty unnecessary and a little bit wasted, honestly. I really didn't need to Evo that there. Like I said, I was still trying to find my bearings at this point. Learning the deck, getting the hang of it, working out exactly how you're meant to play the Repose stuff. So this first game actually gave me a pretty good insight, thanks to the fact that it did run reasonably long. And it really did set me up to continue to do well with the deck further down the line. Like, I ended up using Blind Faith here just as a draw. Mainly just to restock my hand, since any other play was just kind of weak. I think at this point is when I realized that most of my damage is going to come from my crest abilities. And that's when I really start to focus on just making sure I can remove as much stuff as possible, while also protecting myself. So I really need Temple to be triggerable here, and to do that I need to use Repose, for example. Because I want Barrier, just in case they go for a Roach play, which seems like the thing they were trying to set up for here. Yeah, if I was smart, I actually probably would have played Torrent. Just to remove that and keep my countdowns. They end up playing Great Testimony here. An interesting one, ended up bouncing it back as well. Definitely could have went for a Roach play here. But with Barrier up, they're really not doing anything with it. I feel like Barrier really does just shut them down pretty hard, and this actually ends up being lethal. As this is 5 plus the 4 off the crest damage for a complete KO. Worked out very nicely. So, while I don't have a Loot Sword gameplay to fight against here, as at this point I didn't run into more Loot Sword for a little bit, we did end up fighting this Omen of One, like Highlander style swords. This was really interesting. This is not the kind of deck I was expecting. So immediately they go for Bellringer, which is fine, kind of expected. We kind of just sit on what we've got because we're sitting on a really nice hand. Being able to set up an early Grimnir, being able to set up Repose next turn, and then Despair the turn after. And there it is. So that was the big play. This thing is a Monolith, Tablet of Tribulations, banishes all duplicates from your deck and draw a card. This really did thin their deck right down because they're trying to find their like Highlander card. That's what I like to call him. He's the Highlander guy. He turns your entire deck into basically one-ofs and 76 cards. It was a very interesting deck to fight against because I'm like, what? I hadn't seen it yet. It's the first time that I got to witness this kind of variant get played. So there it is. So obviously, like, Forest played this last time but didn't actually take advantage of him with his Evo effect. The Forest player just bounced it, but the Sword player actually went for it, going for a full 75 and converting Reaper into a win condition, which did kind of put us on a little bit of a clock, I'm not going to lie. Like, we do want to make sure that we are winning from here. Fortunately, though, this deck runs plenty of removal and plenty of ways to generate decent amount of crest, so I can pretty much always chip in damage every turn, which is all I really need to do as we lead up to our lethal. So this thing is kind of annoying. This is the Dragon card. So obviously the 76 card deck is a mix of all crafts. Very interesting. I actually I think that's quite a cool way to do it. And I mean, it works out pretty well. Now I really should have used my engage there on the amulet. But we do have a full set of crests now, so we are doing 5 damage a turn. And we're only 4 damage from lethal. So if we could find a way to potentially get that damage while removing cards, which we do have plenty of ways to remove cards. This probably wasn't the best way to do it, but it's the way I chose to do it. I could have just played the gold Repose card and just removed it that way. But it's not really a big deal. We get to keep our Unholy, which is the big thing, because now even if they suddenly flood board with something like Ocean Rider that we see here, we can just play Unholy and win us the game off the crest pop. We have 4 crests, and that's 4 damage for lethal. We can actually even raise that a little bit here with the other Repose and make it 5 damage. Why not? Honestly, a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this Haven deck so far. And our final matchup here is actually against Dragoncraft. So Dragoncraft mostly seems to be focusing on some form of a ramp variant at the current stage. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a more aggressive variant come in with the cards that Dragon got given. But, I mean, a ramp kind of works in my favor because I can kind of just sit back and do my thing. Because these ramp variants don't run as high at top ends as the existing ones from what I looked at. After all, I did end up building one of these variant of decks. I am sure we'll see all this shift because the meta is nowhere near defined. I mean, it's only been a few hours. I expect it to take at least through to the weekend, probably Sunday, before we start seeing a real defined meta start to form. And then it won't be until the week after that we've probably settled into what will be probably the end game meta for this expansion, as usually it doesn't take that long to figure out the big hitter decks, and it's really just fine-tuning and then like tournament prep for players to see, you know, which decks, you know, rock, paper, scissors effectively other decks. I mean, if you look at the end of last expansion, you saw a lot of interesting tournament decks kind of win win potential games where most people didn't expect them to. Because they just do have the tools sometimes to do that in a tournament setting. But ladder is usually a whole different beast, as, you know, tournament decks can be pretty viable, but you want consistency against many variants of decks, not necessarily just one type. So we are really just setting up crests and getting ready here. I didn't get to set up Despair the turn I wanted to, but we should hopefully get a chance to set up Despair in the next turn, maybe. Although we do have some options here. We don't have to use Despair yet. But I do end up just going for it. Saying screw it. Why not? Plus we do get Torrent, so I mean, Torrent of Despair should do the job if we wanted, but... Well, Torrent would have been, I think, the better play. I'm not opposed to just using the ping there to remove that. But you really don't do a lot of attacking in this deck. I mean, nearly all of the repose mechanic basically says don't attack. So you really are betting on effect damage and effect abilities to do anything. So now we do need a full removal here and an effective one. Unfortunately, that wasn't the best hit, but thanks to our gold repose, it is a pretty easy clear still. And we can even pop it for the Evo. We should get some stats, you know, we get some stats. We get 4 damage and we get to draw a card with 4 health or less. That's what makes her really good. She's a tutor card. And we retain that effect for 4 full turns, so now all I have to do is remove the 5/5. And I wanted to do that without losing my 3/3 ward, so I end up just taking it out and setting up some more draw because we are getting a little low on cards while getting in our 4 damage off our ping. As you can see at this point, I kind of worked out what I need to do. It was really just making sure I clear as much as possible and then ping them in the face over and over again with the crest damage. Now this board was a little trickier to look at because I had to really think about how I wanted to take this out. Since we are kind of setting up for a potential manifest lethal next turn. Luckily, thanks to Blind Faith, we can get that little bit of damage in still. So we only lose 1 damage out of our 3 crests there to the board. Unfortunately for us, this is looking like a pretty easy board to clear. I don't think we're quite at the point where we can lethal them, are we? Or maybe. We do need, well, not quite. We nearly had lethal that turn. We were 2 damage off. So we just needed a couple more crests, ideally. But honestly, it's not a big deal because next turn, they're already on the clock here. And we have the perfect answer to this. Using repose, we can just pop that and set up the extra crest, getting us 3 damage to the face. Very easily, and then we end up just drawing a heap of cards anyway that could also do the job. So why not? Sets us up really nicely for more than enough damage off the ping.
My ice, it melted.
So overall, I had a lot of fun with this Haven deck. I really enjoyed it. I think it will play pretty well into the Sword matchup, although I haven't really got a lot of experience doing that yet with this deck. But so far, every matchup that I've played it into has gone reasonably well for me. I mean, it's really just a matter of I had to learn the little like synergies and which way around to go for damage and stuff, and provided your opponent can't flood you with high cost, like high health cards, you can typically take out most things without too much trouble because this runs so much removal and has so many good ways to just ping away enemy units while also healing yourself and protecting yourself. And I think that's really the big strength that the Omen Haven deck has. And it's just, honestly, it was a lot of fun. I don't know if it'll hold up. Haven decks tend to struggle a little bit when it comes to long-term play, because they are usually more on the defensive side and they are on the slower side, so they don't clear as many matches as quickly. But hey, I've got some hope. I really enjoy Havencraft, and hopefully you will too, and you can find the link to this deck in the description below. And until next time, guys, I will see you then.